You know, I was comparing this figure to the Mimeyoi Azalen Taiho figure that I just reviewed more than a week ago. Quality control. This is better than what Mimeyoi has done. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven. Today with a scale figure review, another 1x4 scale. And this figure is so popular, so famous that there are already quite a number of other YouTubers who have reviewed her by now. And do you know what is my honest opinion and an early spoiler for this figure with today's review? This is possibly BearPanda's very best work yet in terms of refinement. And they have achieved so much within a 1 year period. Yes, their first 1x4 scale Konata figure which I reviewed, that one were full of problems. Well, not full of problems, but she had quite a few problems. And then they were gradually improved in future releases. And by now, this is probably their very best 1x4 scale yet. And this thing virtually has no flaws at all. Yeah. So, introductions, this is BearPanda's 1x4 scale Sayuri, original character by KPring, and she was released actually quite a few months back. I'm leaving the information here on screen. Yup, she came out a few months back, and this is another one of those low budget 1x4 scale figures that cost around 9-10,000 yen or so. It's very affordable. And the quality is right up there, very close to the premium scale figures from Japanese brands that cost 3 or 4 times as much. Now, this 1x4 scale figure over here is perhaps the tallest one by BearPanda yet. This thing is taller than a couple of their other 1x4 scale figures, both Konata and also Yuna. Was it Yuna? Yeah, Yuna, that purple hair waifu. That Yuna was a bit short, yes. Like half a head shorter, around this tall I believe. This one is the tallest one yet, more than 45 centimeters including the bunny ears over here. This is taller than your typical 1x4 scale even. It feels closer to a 1x3.5 or something. So make sure that your shelf can fit one of these before you buy it. But I think the price alone, the low price is enough of a temptation to buy it and then worry about display space later, isn't it? So moving on to the box part, the box design is pretty much identical to what we saw in Konata and Yuna, a sideways opening box, which is something BearPanda has been doing for a while. The only difference is the color. Her theme color is yellow, and as usual, straight out of the box, you do get an extra faceplate with this moving eye, this 3D eye, which personally I'm not exactly a big fan of, but I appreciate it regardless. And I chose not to display her with that moving eye face part. Yeah, I put it back in the box. However, this figure appeared to be attached to the base permanently straight out from the box. That is the only one single negative I can think of. Normally, I would prefer my figures to be removable from the base. It does not matter which brand or what scale, I want it detachable. Maybe it is possible to forcibly pull the figure off the base with this one over here, but I would rather not risk it. I wouldn't want to do that, so I'll just leave it the way it is. Is it a big deal? Probably not. To 99% of collectors, you guys won't care about this. Yeah, it is a me only thing. Meanwhile, for stability, this thing, it is not rock solid, of course, but this thing is probably the most rigid 1x4 scale by BearPanda yet so far. Yeah, if I shake her sideways, she is going to wobble quite a bit because, you know, like how narrow her legs are. Yeah, small surface area. If I shake the figure frontwards, backwards, she barely wobbles. But sideways, yeah, of course, she is going to wobble quite a bit. This one, I can give it maybe a 6 out of 10 in stability, which is still a very good score, to be honest. But I think Yuna was a bit better in that regard, simply because of the way her legs are positioned on the base. But overall, this is a good result in terms of stability of a 1x4 scale that is so tall. Meanwhile, for the base part, yeah, plain white base. Nothing at all, just plain white disc. I'm not sure what to think about it. On one hand, I understand this is a 9,000 yen figure, so I shouldn't be expecting anything at all for the base. But at the same time, I wish that it is a little bit nicer, regardless of what kind of design I can think of. Yeah, but at least the base is like, it is not very glossy. It is not the very shiny plastic, which feels really cheap. This feels like good plastic in a way. It feels kind of solid. So I guess that I shouldn't be complaining about the base. Overall, this is a good base, despite the simplicity. Now moving on to the main sculpt of the figure. This is a tad bit more detailed than every single previous release by BearPanda. And as you can see, I keep coming back to BearPanda's figures. I want to see how much they have progressed since their first release. This one is like slightly nicer than their previous releases, but at the same time, not the most detailed thing ever. But that is not actually an issue as long as they get the QC done right, isn't it? So the sculpting part, the body, the waist region over here, oh, they are so nicely executed. Like, there is virtually nothing I can complain about on her body over here, regardless of whether it is in front or behind. Yeah, this outfit design over here, I complain about it all the time on how common it is, but overall the sculpting is excellent at this price point. Virtually no flaws to be seen, no ugly gaps or seam lines, no excess adhesive or glue leaking out from different parts, stuff like that. I could not find a single flaw on this thing. Amazing. Meanwhile, the sculpting on her face over here, beautiful. Like, I love twin tail girls. I love them. But the face sculpting on this is so perfectly executed. This is like a 9.5 out of 10 face. Yeah, 9.5. This is as good as it gets. I can't think of how I can make the face any better than this, which is why I'm giving her face a very high score, near perfect score of 9.5 out of 10. Meanwhile, the rest of the body, down to the legs over here, this is also easily an 8 out of 10. I can't believe I'm giving a score this high to a BearPanda scale figure that cost 9,000 yen. Yeah. So moving on to the paint work over here, once again, a similar story. I told you guys earlier, this figure is virtually flawless, and that is the same story with the paint work. This is going to be a quick review today because there's nothing to complain about. So the paint work on her hair is a very smooth yellow with some gradual shading. You can see some shading over here, it is there. And part fitting on these two twin tails over here, they are just nice, you know. It is neither too tight nor too loose, and the pack in the middle of the twin tail over here, there is metal reinforcement for extra, security and rigidity, I suppose. So no paint bleeding, no scratches, no paint transfer, nothing. If there is one minor complaint over here, it has to be this stitching line behind the figure along her legs, both of her legs. This is something you can't avoid, I suppose, because this is real fabric. They need to sew it somewhere, but at least, you know what? White color stitching lines are a lot nicer to look at compared to black stockings. I find black color stitching lines to be really jarring and very ugly to look at. So this one, by all means, is not that terrible in comparison. You know, I was comparing this figure to the Mimeyoi Azelen Taiho figure that I just reviewed more than a week ago. Sure, the Mimeyoi Taiho figure, the sculpting department, the body curves might be a bit nicer, a bit curvier than this one. And the paint is really, very striking, very attractive. But they put that aside. Quality control. This is better than what Mimeyoi has done. I'm not even kidding over here. QC-wise, this is better. So, my conclusion is this for today. This is hands down the best BearPanda 1x4 scale figure yet. So far, well, until I review their newer releases, obviously, and then we compare it again. So, should you get this figure of Sayuri at 1x4 scale by BearPanda, get it before she sells out and becomes rare and expensive. No, this won't happen in Taobao, China, but it might happen in Japan. If you buy from Ami or HLG or anywhere else, once this figure sells out over there, the value is guaranteed to go up. So this figure comes as highly recommended, and if you found this review helpful or informative, yeah, give this video a like, subscribe to this channel for more figure content like this every week, and until then, thanks again for watching. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.